I think they said that they recorded their first album in a garage.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so they actually were recording in a garage. Further evidence that BTS is kind of like AMP. While I'm not going to say that we're recording in a garage, allegedly, that's how we started. And maybe we're still there. But
The M Theory Podcast with Peter Vazquez and Scott Kalnasy.
Take two.
yeah, that one didn't seem as real.
Yeah.
It was like the fake.
No, it's okay.
Let's redo it.
Wait, what? We do
We're just doing the countdown. 5,
You know, I'm going to leave it in the audio.
3, 2, 1. Why would you leave it in the
I'm going to
audio?
fucking leave it in the audio. And
There
then
we
we do
go.
the... Yay!
It was really okay. It was really organic
special
the
at
first time. Yeah.
It was special, and then it
It
became
just proves
lame.
that.
Go ahead and take it away, BD.
All right, so...
Yeah. Still with
it's
the BDV, I like it.
No.
So since we're keeping this part, I just want to say, like, we will have merch soon.
Fake news.
We're gonna have really cool T-shirts that
That's not
says
true.
BDV on it.
He's lying.
It's gonna
We'll
have
have little shirts on.
yeah, it's gonna have Peter's
No.
initials, what we call him BDV.
That's not
and
even
a little
thing.
shrimp emoji.
They just came in here today with this
It
bullshit.
became a thing about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not a thing.
No, it's cool. Like,
Fuck that.
it's awesome. I like it.
No.
It really sets you apart.
See if we can go ahead and get that trending BTS Army hashtag.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, what? Fuck that. BDV stands for Big.
There might be shows that watch this.
Oh, okay. So.
Big dreaming Vazquez.
No, hell no.
Big dreamer over here.
Anyways, guys, episode 12. The reason you came here, the big whammy,
Mm-hmm.
the BTS episode.
BTS episode.
So, context,
Yep.
right? About 3 weeks ago,
Yep.
we decided to do a reaction to something that we had never seen before, something foreign to us,
Yeah.
right? And,
And,
I think it went well, but
In all,
You're probably the only one that
Yeah.
thought it went well.
It-
I thought it was great. I thought,
in
yeah.
all honesty, we didn't give the band the respect or reverence that we now have for them.
Yeah, okay.
After looking into them.
So look. Very important, I think, for people to know some of the backstory. So we reacted to BTS. It's foreign to us, right? It
Yep.
wasn't anything that we were into or thought about getting into or anything, right? And so we did an honest reaction to their video, being extremely new to BTS, you know?
Yeah, and it was judged solely on the video alone.
Yeah,
on the song.
yeah. And so people got booty hurt, right? And they got mad. Okay, whatever. And they came at us, and so we took the video down because we didn't mean to hurt anybody's feelings. But out of that, right, out of all the hate that we got, there was this one person.
There was some real learning that took place like afterwards.
Afterwards.
Which I think, I think the fan base like showed like how strong and how much they actually care for the band with like how much they protected them.
Yeah, I get it.
Because even back in the day, like with the American pop bands like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, like everybody was like, I get what you're saying. I like that band, but then I also like this band. The BTS fans are
I'm not gonna lie.
solely like about BTS.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to lie. At the time, NSYNC and Backstreet were hot, right?
Right.
Out on the streets, your boy was like, I don't listen to that. You know?
had this-
What?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. I had that conversation with my
At
brother.
home, I was-
Dancing in the mirror, huh?
I was like, I drive myself crazy. I was fucking in syncing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Backstreet Boys. I didn't do the dance because, your boy's a real
He had no
gangster.
rhythm.
Hell
I used
no.
to listen to it. Like I would pretend like I didn't like the songs either, but then like in private, like on Kaza, I'd download that shit later and be like,
Yeah. Well, never downloaded it because I'm a real man. You're a bitch.
"Boy, you telling me you've never done?" Oh, I
First
forgot.
off, we're in a 2-on-1 scenario.
Yeah.
If there's going to be any Backstreet Boys or NSYNC slander, it doesn't happen here.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's okay. I forgot Peter grew up with a computer but no internet.
This is true. I would go over to his house.
But anyways,
okay, so out of all the animosity that came our ways, right, there was
real
this,
learning took place, and there
Yeah.
was someone who reached out to us.
Yeah. So it was
And-
out of all the BTS fans that left some hate. There was one that actually went out of her way to find a way to contact us through
Yeah.
our Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And
But
so
it was it was a really constructive conversation. There was a lot of information that she provided to us, which
Yeah.
helped us form
Yeah.
more of a respect for the band.
yeah, so she actually took the time to look at our channel and our videos, and
Which, thank you, by the way.
yeah, and she saw
She's
that
one of our 57 views.
Yeah, she saw that AMP. The AMP theory stands for accountability, mindset, and persistence. It's our channels to try to we try to be silly, and we're expanding.
And you know what? I know that this is about BTS and stuff, but we really took accountability for what was done, and now we're owning up to it. And now we're showing more respect.
Yeah. So okay, I stand behind everything I said. Sorry. And but again, accountability. Maybe it wasn't the nicest thing to say, right? Therefore, as a team, as a unit, we decided to do something different. But that being, people push, I push back. I'm a little bit of an asshole at times, right? But anyways, this person came on and we started talking online, and she's like, hey, look, I know this is foreign to you. She came a little bit more understanding. She understood that the reason why we acted that way and we said the things we said weren't out of hate. It's
Right.
because it's foreign to us. And I think if you look at how we look, right, and look at how BTS looks, you can kind of see that we're just a little different.
To give us
It's
credit,
foreign.
I mean, we're not really BTS's target demographic. We're dudes
Yeah.
American dudes in our 30s.
Yeah.
We're not really the target demographic.
Yeah. So it was two different scenes we came, and she said she understood that, but that after looking at our channel, she said that we should actually look into the story because we would be surprised at how their story had a lot to do with what we talk about and what we stand for, and how these two separate things that it's us and them that maybe aren't really connected in maybe the style of dress, music, whatever you want to call it, right? But actually there was this one thing that does connect us,
right?
And so I was like, that's a very interesting idea, and I'm open to changing my perspective and kind of opening up to that. So
yeah, you had a full Steven Crowder changed my mind moment.
Yeah. Except he never changes his mind.
I've seen him change his mind.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know what the episode was, but
fake news. But so not only did she give us this idea to do this podcast, but she also I would assume she's a super fan, right? She's I think part of Army. I would assume.
I would definitely think.
Yeah, because she not only just gave, but she broke down all the information.
She gave us a crash course introduction to the band, certain songs and videos to watch before watching actual videos about the in-depth analysis of each member.
Yeah. And so
I thought that was invaluable information.
Yeah.
Where we wouldn't have known where to look. All of a sudden, she was boom, here you go, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. She helped
music
us.
videos, links.
Yeah.
Even her own input. She was this is what this song is about.
Yeah.
This is make sure that you have the subtitles on so you can get the full in-depth meaning of what the song is.
Yeah.
And
well, her name was I'm sorry, we wrote it down. Camilla Wildner. She's at Wildner Camilla on Instagram.
Yeah. Big shout out.
A very we're 33. Right, but I don't know how old she is.
Right,
but she handled the whole situation so maturely. That I have a lot of admiration for her, not knowing her, because of how mature she came and how well she I wouldn't say argue, but got her point across. Yeah, and kind of at first I was like, oh man, this person might give us some more hate, but she was so mature in the way that she handled it.
It was all constructive, criticism. Because everything that had initially been said, even though we were trying to be funny, the fan base didn't appreciate it. Apparently, is everything that had already been said about the band. Yeah. So it's what we said was nothing new. Yeah. But having that conversation with her, and like actually looking into the way the band is, where they operate, where they came from, and all that stuff, like it's like you said, like we developed like more of a respect for like the band members and like what they've gone through.
Yeah. So 100%. Now, kind of more now speaking to like the people that actually listen to us. You know, if we have a bigger audience, just because BTS, everybody loves everything BTS, so we assume that in this episode we'll have people that aren't usually watching us. Sure. But to people that actually do watch us, which are more men our age, women our age, right? Friends, we definitely encourage you to look into. Not only are these people talented, after watching them,
talent, like you can definitely. You have to respect talent.
Yeah. So after definitely watching them, I appreciate the amount of talent that these 7 guys have. Well, that's one. And 2, their like work ethic and their story and everything. Like, you know, I left definitely respecting the band a little bit more than I came in. Yeah. And it's also a rabbit hole. Like not BTS,
K-pop
but K-pop
itself.
as a whole. Like,
because I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know that K-pop started like in the early '90s. I thought like was. I'm sure every country's had like pop music or whatever, but I didn't know that from the jump that it was like as popular as it was starting in the 90s.
Yeah, well, so whenever she sent us that information, like it was all pretty much about
it was about BTS, yeah.
But I wanted to kind of have context, right? Like to see where BTS lies in this like invasion, because I think this is the closest thing that we have to like the British invasion from this is, you know, it's like kind of like it's kind of like the Korean invasion,
like the Beatles,
you know?
a lot.
It's like the Korean invasion, right? And so like I wanted to know where they lie in this history, because
there's like generations of it, like the 90s, like so I don't remember if they're like the 3rd or the 4th generation of like super K-pop stars.
Well, the Korean music industry, right? Because so they're talking about like, I went back a little bit further, right? So like in the 60s and all that stuff. I mean, so for the longest time, I guess Korea
folk songs.
Well, Korea was a territory of Japan, and then they like freed themselves, right?
I thought we were just gonna go straight to the music, but
I'm trying to.
You get there,
So then they free themselves, and then they had, you know, the Civil War that now you have North and South Korea, right? But in the South, you know, you had these artists that were in the 60s and all that stuff. And the only reason I'm bringing them up is because they kind of started what is the music industry, like with the folk music and all that stuff, right? But as the scene started maturing and they got older, then they started becoming like producers and stuff like that. That then started hiring like the ballads, like, you know, that happened more in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, right? But once you get to the 90s, that's when you start getting because I think there was a lift on restrictions, because in Korea there was restrictions and censorship, like
because I think at a certain point, like only folk songs, and I think like the songs were actually so censored that like if it was kind of like American music in the 50s, right? Like when we were growing up, like pop music and like rap music was like talking about like a little bit more than R-rated things, but like in the 50s we used to have like bands that were talking about like "Let Me Hold Your Hand," and real innocent, like "Let Me Talk About Hugging You" and stuff like that. Well, that's kind of like where I took it, like from with like the original like Korean folk music and stuff. Before they lifted those kind of restrictions in the 90s when the K-pop like started.
And I could be incorrect, but I think one of the biggest differences between like America and a lot of other countries, and maybe why we've kind of advanced like the arts a little bit faster maybe in America, because I could be wrong, but it seems to me, from my perspective, is that like a lot of styles come from America until you start getting like the British invasion, and then like right now the Korean invasion and stuff like that. But like, you know, hip hop America, you know, disco America, right? Like you have all these like things that come out of America. And I think the reason why is because our government pretty much stays out of the arts. There's a lot of inside the actual industry, a lot of politics that go into there. But until things get to that government, there's not a lot of government intrusion. Now there are some times, right, like where you stick that little censored sticker on there. There are times where, but not as much as like these other countries. And as we go further, one thing I do want to say is that, like, you know, we crammed this whole history of K-pop, BTS. BTS has been around for like
Since 2013.
9 years.
Since
you know,
2013.
Yeah. So
I think they actually started to like form the band in 2010,
Yeah.
but they didn't debut till 2013.
yeah. So I
Again,
guarantee.
could be wrong.
Yeah, I guarantee that we're gonna get some things wrong.
Yeah.
And if you know more than us, please correct us in the comments. We're not wanting to spread false information
Yeah.
on purpose.
Let's have let's have a
Discourse.
like
Yeah.
a constructive
Yeah.
conversation. 'Cause
Yeah.
As a music fan, listening to them was different. But
Yeah.
like watching the videos and listening to like the songs and actually like reading what the lyrics
Yeah.
were, I was like,
Yeah, and it was very time consuming
was-
for me because I really wanted to read what they were
Yeah.
saying in the music, because that's one thing that BTS fans always say, that like their music like touched them and helped them through situations. So I was trying to read the message, but then also trying to appreciate the artistry of like the dance and the production and everything. And sometimes it's hard, to focus on one thing and then try to read what they're saying.
Yeah.
So now I did go on Spotify and I was like looking at a lot of like older music from BTS, and they've like
They've evolved,
They've
yeah.
evolved and they've changed their style like a few times.
yeah. I think what I read now was like they're more they're portraying themselves more as like
Yeah.
who they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I remember like seeing like older like BTS stuff, like RM had a mohawk
Yeah.
and like wore like glasses and had like that. To me, he looked like he could have been like a Run DMC like rapper.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like I think they got the rappers first.
I think
before.
I think they
Yeah.
did. They put the rap trio together first, and then they're like, okay, we need a legit vocalist.
Yeah.
And they put the vocalists together.
Yeah.
And then they all had to like be able to like dance.
Yeah.
Too. I think one actually came on as a dancer, and then happened to have like a special quality that they were looking for, and they like trained him to be a singer.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened.
Yeah. So here, a little bit more backdrop on like K-pop, right? So once they actually started getting K-pop, right now if I'm remember correctly, we're in the third generation of K-pop, right?
I think at this
where
point, yeah.
the first generation was kind of like when they were getting the ingredients together and they were saying, oh wow, like this is what it is. The second generation was like, oh, this is something we can kind of sell like nationally and like internationally, to where now the third generation is like global dominance is kind of like the next part, right?
You said something to me that kind of made sense. Like K-pop is kind of like Korea's like export, like how we have like gas and steel.
Yeah.
Korea has K-pop, like that's where the bread and butter is. That's where it's like a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yeah. So in me looking into K-pop, right, to kind of give some context, and so I think they said that BTS accounts for like $5 billion of fucking Korea's GOP or something like that. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a fuck ton of money.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Now, so the thing about Korea, just to kind of give some context on K-pop, and I know this is going to be relevant to BTS, right?
Sure.
So K-pop is an export.
Right.
It's a product, right?
Yeah.
And so Korea, actually, their government invests in a Department of Culture. So basically, their thing is to like import their culture, right? And some of that is through K-pop. So like us, like we call our singers and songwriters, we call them artists. They call their singers and songwriters and dancers idols, right? So it's like already you're using a word that's like really like, it's like artists, and like what we refer to idols is like your Michael Jackson, your freaking Beatles, like big, Madonna.
Currently, like everybody who's in the game, like we refer to them as artists, but people who've like transcended, like that artistry, like we refer to them as icons or like pop idols. And like from the jump, like these K-pop bands or like solo artists, whatever. From their debut, they're considered like pop idols.
And so every year, over 100 K-pop bands are created, right? So that's a lot of competition, right?
And aren't there only like 4 like major labels?
So at the time, there was like in like the creation of like BTS,
or entertainment industries.
Yeah, they're just production companies, right?
Companies, yeah.
So there was like the big. I think there were like 3 or 4 that were big.
Right.
And so that's kind of part of the story. Like you wouldn't have BTS if you didn't have this one small production company.
Big hit. Right.
So the cool thing about Big Hit is that the director or the CEO or whatever you want to call him, he was actually one of the rappers in Korea from the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's funny because a lot of those original like K-pop like generation ones like started their own production companies and they formed their own K-pop groups like that they managed, they wrote the music for, and they put them out there.
For sure.
I think that's one reason why that there are so many like K-pop like artists that come out like each year. It's just because like basically they go like how like football players become coaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they went from being artists to producer.
Yeah.
And there's a few American artists that have done that and like been really successful. Yeah. And it seems like almost all the K-pop artists who become like producers or like entertainment leaders, like they're successful.
Yeah, for sure. Well, like when he started Big Hit though, like it was such a small company.
Yeah.
It was little. And it's crazy because BTS, the members, right? Mm-hmm. It's nuts because they are the ones that fell through the cracks of these big productions. So in Korea, right? So here,
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Like,
so like
they just happen to not make it in the bigger companies.
Yeah.
But like even like a couple of them, I remember. I don't remember which member it was, but they came to Big Hit and wanted to be part of BTS because they liked RM. They like said like I want to be part of BTS because RM is cool.
Yeah. Well, like here in America, right? Like we started a band. And we like played our instruments half-assed, and we started a band, and we recorded, right, and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Didn't make it, right? But there's a lot of people that start like us and make it, right? Here in America, it's like more of a like you try and you do it, right? But in Korea,
but you know what, production. I don't mean to cut you off. I think like with the band stuff though, like there's so much mediocrity with like the bands here that like us playing like 4 or 5 different chords like in a different like progression and making it sound cool. That sounds a lot better than like other bands.
Yeah.
But everybody that I've seen that's like jumped on like the K-pop scene, it's just like from the jump fire.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I was
like
trying to get into
I was
it
just saying, like,
is because these motherfucking production companies go from town to town.
Yeah.
And they just like they're like, hey, you should try out. It's like a thing. They'll do tryouts, and these kids are kind of like, oh shit, yeah, cool, I'll try out. And I mean, I would assume that they would have to have some type of talent, right? Like, I mean, I would assume, but a lot of the time, it sounds to me that they're like, oh wow, you got this look that we're looking for. We can teach you the talent. To me, it seems that way because basically they'll go and they'll sign these kids into contracts at like. I mean, I don't know. It seems like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? And then
you talking about at those ages?
At those ages, they'll sign them, and then basically they train them. They put them through hours of training. They like sit there and like they'll go hard, and then eventually the production companies form them into a band. Then they teach them together, and eventually they debut.
Right.
But again, this is kind of like a factory.
Right.
It's like a factory, and
it's like you said, it's like K-pop is an export, so it kind of makes sense that they're over there training idols and everything to be like the next big star.
Yeah, and so BTS, the members, right? So like RM, I think was the first one to sign with Big Hit, right?
I think in everything that I've seen, they say that he's like the leader, like he's the first one.
Yeah, he's like the Peter Vazquez.
Hell no.
Of BTS.
PDB.
Yeah.
Hold on, I just want to say something. I love when you get caught off guard with this shit.
No, fuck that. Look, I'm gonna say like this. AMP could be a boy band. Me, the charismatic leader, right? You're the one that sings real girly, but you're cute.
Yeah.
Jonathan, sex symbol, right? He brings
icon
status, right? The three of us, unstoppable.
That's why I'm behind the camera, so you don't.
You know.
If we get way too many subscribers.
Right,
it would actually be like another member, Peter.
Anyways.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's No, but yeah, like
So anyways, back to BTS. So RM was the first one, right? It seems, and everything that we saw was the first one to join Big Hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the way he joined was kind of funny because he went to like these bigger production places, right?
Yeah.
And totally fucked up, right? I think he had like one tryout, I guess you want to call it, with a big production.
Is he the one who had tryouts but forgot the lyrics?
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
song?
that was him. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? But he was the one that fucked it up, right? And so then they're like, hey, there's this like fucking small little company, you want to try there? And he's like, oh fuck, like nobody's ever gonna get me, but yeah, I'll try out. He ended up getting signed, right? So boom, first member, already off jump. You know, like that sets the standard for like what BTS is gonna end up being as a band. You know, because I think we all can say that we've had opportunities where it's like, oh shit, like I'm gonna try out, I'm gonna give this speech, or I'm gonna take this class or whatever, and then you fuck up, and then you feel like shit, and like I don't want to try anymore. I'm not meant for this shit.
Part of being human.
Yeah, and oh boy, like, and you got to think, as we continue, you'll start understanding the pressure that these like kids or young adults are in. But I mean, this kid was like, he wanted to be like part of the underground rap thing. Like he had been rapping, you know? And so to identify as a rapper and then fuck up rapping, that's a hit to the ego, you know?
Yeah.
And then not only that, you know, he messed up with a big company, and now he's at a smaller company, which might have ended up helping him, because I would assume that there's maybe a little less pressure.
I was going to say, like, with the band members forming under like the smaller Big Hit label, I think it was better for them creatively.
Yeah.
I think that because we know that there's like pressures not only from the industry but like from the fans and things like that.
Yeah.
But going to that smaller label, I think maybe allowed BTS a little bit more freedom, especially from everything that I've heard about like how much input they actually have in the music.
Yeah. Maybe.
Shit.
So I guess at this point, because we can kind of go into the detail about all. I mean, there's 7 of them, right? So we're cramming hours of videos that we watch into the small bit, like to go through their names. And again, if we fuck anything up, let us know. But
constructive conversation.
Yeah, there was RM. There's Suga. J-Hope. And these are the 3 rappers. I think they were the first 3 members, right? Maybe.
Well, because I remember they put the rappers together before they were like, okay, now we need like vocalists.
Yeah. And so then the vocalists, Jin, Jimin, V, Jungkook.
I think so.
Okay, if I said that wrong, my bad. But anyways, those are 7 members, right? And eventually they all signed to Big Hit. Now, I know one of them was like, he was actually poor. He was like, his parents were farmers. And so he ended up trying out, and then he ended up making the band. A few of them wanted to be there because of RM, the first guy. And so I think one thing that people should understand about BTS that shows a lot about their character is that because they went to a smaller label that almost went bankrupt.
Yeah, in the beginning it was really rough, not only for Big Hit Entertainment, or I think it's entertainment, but also for the band themselves, because they lived in the same room. Yeah, they all slept together. They all spent their time together. They ate, slept, and trained together like 24/7. Yeah, because I think like even with those with the pop idol factories, I guess we'll call it. Yeah, like they control like everything in order for you to become like what's considered a pop idol, like what you eat, how long you train, who you're going to be with, who you room with. Yeah. And I think their diet, I think like those K-pop idols, like their diets are really strict. Yeah. Like what they're allowed to do outside of like training to become what they want to be is really strict. Yeah. No, so some of the things that we're going to bring up, we might not know if BTS actually went through this. But I hope not.
So one thing, again, in the context of us wanting to have, where is BTS in this whole K-pop scene, right? Like, what is it? One thing that came up about a lot of other bands is some of the mistreatment that they go through. Yeah. Now, it seems from everything that we look at is that, like, Big Hit is the better of the companies, and maybe because they were so small, they didn't mistreat BTS.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was probably more. They had more freedoms, more liberties, and more like creativity, to like throw around, as opposed to like these bigger name labels, that control. Like I said, like the factories that control what they eat. Like something that I saw was that their food had to fit into like a cup, their meals, and that they were weighed regularly, and so they had to fit a certain mold,
So again, this is something that we don't know. This is not a BTS thing. This is just a thing that we hear idols go through, right? Through their training, and that's definitely like because they want a certain body shape, they
want certain physical beauty.
So you got to understand, you got to understand. I don't know if you haven't watched Kpop. The dance move that these people do are fucking intense.
Absolutely.
Roll my ankles.
No, these guys.
I broke my ankles watching them.
These guys and girls are doing dancing that is very impressive, and the amount of calories burnt in doing these dances. Not only talking about the fact that you're burning calories, but you're singing at the same time. And like if you've ever ran at a slow speed and had a conversation with somebody,
it's difficult.
It's fucking hard.
But also too, remember we talked about Outkast. Outkast used to like run around the block and like do their raps. That way, when they were on stage, they wouldn't get out of breath. And they could like rap as fast as they could. That. It's kind of it's probably the same thing. They're probably sitting there training 12 hours a day, dancing and doing all like it's like full practice, I guess.
And so I have this little tattoo of this turtle, right? And
I have a little tattoo of this turtle, right?
So the turtle, like what it symbolizes to me, right? It is not how you start; it's how you finish. It's like was it the tortoise in the hare? That fucking the turtle ended up winning the race, right? I'm not gonna go into it. But
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Heavy spoiler alert.
But I think this is the perfect story of that. I mean, you got to understand these kids joined this company. A lot of it was just because it's like, hey, like we want to do this, and we didn't get into a bigger company, so I guess we'll just like this is our only chance to kind of try to do it because nobody else signed us up. So we went with Big Hit, right? And so you're already kind of thinking. I would assume I don't know what they're thinking, right? But to me, if I was them, it's like, well, I'm already starting behind. I didn't start with one of the big companies that like come out with like the artists that have already been established. I'm starting off with somebody who's never created like a big company, so it's like you think you're kind of far off behind. All of a sudden, you got to put in all this time because before they even debut, they're putting in hours of training, singing, rapping, songwriting, producing, dancing, like all this shit. They got to sit there and get trained for the chance of just being like, okay, like hopefully we debut and people like us, right? Now, I think they said that they recorded their first album in a garage.
I didn't hear about that.
So they actually were recording in a garage. Further evidence that BTS is kind of like AMP. While I'm not going to say that we're recording in a garage, allegedly, that's how we started. And maybe we're still there. But
it's better than someone's mom's basement.
Yeah, for sure. But anyways, again, they're facing adversity, right? It's like you have to think like how mentally strong these guys have to be like, fuck, like we're about to give our lives to something with a company that is not proven, right? And we're putting in all this effort, right? And not putting in effort into like I don't know, getting a degree or like, doing the things that like will more than likely give you a better life. Like they're trying to be.
It's an all or nothing. Like it's all or nothing for them. And it really goes to show like to actually want to go through with all that. To actually put in all the time. And from what I remember seeing in some of the videos is like you go to these like K-pop idol boot camps, right? And you're putting in all this work, like how you're talking about, and you're under contract. But my understanding is your contract, even though you spent years training up to this point, you're not under contract yet. Your contract doesn't begin until you debut. And at that point, you're locked in for like 7 to 15 years. Like there can be like K-pop artists like in a boy group till they're like 40,
Yeah.
because they're under contract.
Yeah. And so being an idol, I guess, is so sought after. Now, this isn't our terminology. And again, not saying that this is BTS part of the story. But in us, like looking at the dark side of K-pop, they call these things slave contracts, right? Again, not our terminology. It's stuff that we saw on the internet. So fucking blame them. But
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
like you're going through like the boot camp. They're
Yeah.
controlling everything that you eat. They control how much you sleep.
Yeah.
'Cause I even heard somewhere that like the artists only sleep like 3 hours a night, and then
Yeah.
they're put back to work. I'm like, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
like
yeah,
like the lack of sleep, all the work you have to put in. But then, their contracts don't begin until they debut, and then
Yeah.
there's added pressure.
For sure.
Like, I don't know what kind of pressure like BTS is under, but
yeah,
I would imagine that with the pressures of being under a label, being considered like pop idols, or like mega stars, and then also like that fan base, because like I know they started out a little rocky. They started a little bit slow, and then I think maybe it was like 2017, like when they really like gained traction. Like even being in a band for like that long before something like big happens
Yeah.
for you, like that's got to be taxing.
yeah. Well, not only that, well, before you get to the BTS of today, I mean, they kind of were a filler band, So it's like because I over there, like, so it took them a while. So like in Korea, like a band, like like we have American Idol and shit
Yeah.
like that. Like they'll get on shows and they'll compete to see like who can win.
Yeah.
And so like it took them a while just to even win one. And then like even when they did win, like they would have these bigger companies, and if a band wasn't able to perform or show up, like then they'll get BTS. And sometimes their performances weren't even like shown. Like sometimes they were like cut or cut short, or you wouldn't see the whole thing,
And in the beginning, I remember hearing that their shows were cut short.
Yeah.
I mean that in itself, like it might be a little bit of like a blow to the ego, especially if this is
Hell
something
yeah.
that you really want to do.
Yeah.
Like because in some of the stuff that I had seen, like we're talking about like their mental toughness and everything, like their drive and their determination to be pop idols and everything.
Yeah.
They had to endure not only a lot of like hate from other artists,
Yeah.
but also, for one reason or another, I think as a whole and then individually, they receive like death threats, and that in itself has to like, make you question like if this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
But
well, that's fucking crazy to me, because it's like, to me, BTS is big now. So if you
we caught the train late. Right?
Yeah, but if you were to tell me that they got death threats now, I would kind of be like, first of all, I would ask like why,
Right?
Because like everything that I've seen about them hasn't really been like the worst thing, like I wouldn't say like it's like I wouldn't say that they ruffled any feathers for somebody to be like, fuck them, let's kill one of them,
Right.
So it's kind of weird that they would get death threats. But that's actually like some of the pressures of like K-pop, because it's not just K-pop the industry, but then you have these fans, right?
Yeah.
And so while the fan base of any one K-pop group is great towards that K-pop group,
Right.
sometimes, because
Right.
there has been like in these things that I found, like sometimes they'll get mad at their own band,
Right.
But like it's kind of like I like the Cowboys, right? And I work with this fucking Niners fan, and I'm like, fuck the Niners, right?
Right.
And we talk shit and stuff, right? But I don't bully him online. Like, I don't like do any of that stuff. With these K-pop groups, like they're kind of like they're pretty brutal, because in some of like I think when they started winning awards, like fans from other pop groups would call in and say, y'all need to recount, like
Yeah.
we think they're cheating, because that's one of the things that they went through is
Right.
that they accused Big Hit of
I forget the terminology, but
Yeah, yeah.
basically buying all buying the albums.
Yeah, and bundling,
Yeah.
Another thing too, where like you buy a shirt, but then they'll put an album in and it counts as an album sell.
Right.
So like they were accused of a lot of things. And so like, I mean, you have these guys, right, who again started off back. Then when they actually start performing, like places wouldn't even give them a proper room. They'd just be outside of the bathrooms. And it's like, you have to think, like, one thing that was so impressive to me about the story is, like, imagine having so much belief in what you're going to do and your destiny that you go through these things and you're like, I'm going to continue doing it. You know?
Yeah.
Like just it's like quitting is not an option. Like, that was so impressive to me, like, about the story, that made me, like, respect them a lot more.
Yeah.
They face so many things that, like, not only have I, like, been a part of, like, things have happened to me. Like, I say, oh, I'm going to do this one thing. You go and you start doing it and the excitement, right? But then something happens and it's not even, like, anything compared to, like, what these guys were going through, you know?
Right.
And it's like, oh, like, I get all of my feelings. And then I just quit this thing that I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
You know? But these guys were, like, so fucking on point with it. They didn't, it never went, like, I don't know if it ever crossed their mind, but it's like, to have that type of determination and, like, mental strength, like that mindset, you know?
Didn't they, you know, take some of their adversity and, like, their depression and turned it into some of, like, their more, like popular songs? Because I know,
so.
because that was something that I learned too, was that a lot of the songs that have come out, that they've put out on there, I think there's, like, 6 albums, 6 EPs, and then there's a number of, like, other work that they put out.
Yeah.
But they touch on, like, mental health, like, self-love and things like that. I think that's one reason why the fan base loves them so much, because I've heard that, like, a lot of their music has helped them through, like, tough times. And it just, you know, that's why their fan base is as protective of them as they are. And that's something that we found out. We were, you know, we had communication with some of them, and fortunately some of it was really constructive, which made us then have this conversation. But yeah, like, some of the stuff that I've, like, listened to, like, actually, like, read the lyrics to their songs, I'm like, wow. And then not only that, like, their fan base, and, you know, mainly because I think BTS, like, they also, like, donate to, like, different, like, organizations. The donations, what is it, UNICEF for the children. Like, a lot of, like, donations, like, from the band, I think, and, like, the fan base, like, goes towards, like, helping them.
And then the cool thing about their fan base is that, like, they often, like, match a lot of the donations that that the band puts in. But yeah, man, I mean,
we could probably, like, with everything that we found out, we could probably do multiple episodes on. But like, what I would pretty much want to say, like, is, even though, like, there's a lot of things that we probably didn't get to really touch on, and we probably still have time. How much time is left?
We're at 42 minutes.
Oh,
yeah, we can keep it. I mean,
we
can keep going. Shit, I'm just getting started.
No, like, a lot of respect came out of, like, what I found out.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, to me, this is where, like, I guess I get a little challenge, right? Because in the early part of, like, BTS's, like, career, right, like, some of the things that they that I heard, some of their message is against, like, the Korean, like, schooling, you know, industry, you know, like, how they would speak out because they were, like, very strict and all this stuff, right? And I think that it's kind of weird because it's like, you know, it's these type of subjects that really relate to their fans, especially fans that are, like, from that part of the world, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it gives them an outlet, right? Of, like, oh, look at this strict behavior, you know, and these guys give you a message that you believe in and that you can really get behind, right? And then, you know, you're facing a situation, right? It's like, it seems like a lot of the revolution in the music is the censorship, and that was one of the things that kind of led to K-pop, was a release of the censorship, right, of coming back. But then it comes full circle, because then, like, you know, when things are foreign to somebody, or, like, you know, there's a little bit of speaking out to the things that you like, right? Like, where it's like, oh, like, you know, these guys wear makeup, you know, and it's like, oh, well, that might be kind of foreign to me, right? And I don't understand it, right? And so you critique it, right? And then you say things, right? And then in turn, the fans that relate to not wanting to be censored then try, you know, to censor other people, you know?
Right.
And I get it when you believe something, you know, so much, and a band gives you so much, you become protective, and you don't want to.
You don't want anybody to to shit on what you love.
But there are some things that I wanted to say about the fans of K-pop, not the fans of BTS, where maybe you can still group them together, but I'm talking about the overall fans of K-pop, right? There are these things that I saw that add to the pressure of being a K-pop artist, which shows more of the resilience of BTS because K-pop fans are brutal. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't say that to critique. I say that because it is because, like, in me looking at the dark side of K-pop, like not just the good but the bad.
Yeah.
Is that online bullying amongst fans, like of certain K-pop artists against other K-pop artists.
Yeah.
Has been so brutal in certain things where certain like K-pop artists maybe have done things they don't like or said things they don't like. Where some K-pop artists have committed suicide from the online bullying.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know?
Like there have been like, I mean, with every person who reaches a certain level of fame, I know that with like American movie actors, like artists and everything, they've taken their lives. It just really goes to show that, like, especially like since BTS is the topic of discussion, like their mental toughness. They've battled depression. They've battled having death threats against them and everything like that. But it seems like they've never had the thought to cross that line where some of the other K-pop artists who have unfortunately taken their lives have done so.
Yeah.
And it's either because the fans bullied them.
Yeah.
There was something that I saw where a K-pop artist was like, "I'm not a bad person. I don't know why you're being mean to me."
Yeah.
And then the next day it was like found dead.
Yeah.
Or found unresponsive, later pronounced dead.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more of that than I was expecting because there was that artist. Unfortunately, I don't know her name.
Yeah.
But I felt bad for her because seeing like the last like TikTok or the last tweet or whatever video it was.
Yeah.
It was like, why are you being mean?
Yeah.
And then she took her life.
Yeah.
And then like the pressures of being an idol or having your fan base turn on you or being dropped from your label or just cracking from under the pressure is like a lot of what some of these artists have had to go through.
Well, not only because, you know, all that stuff, but it's like you've invested so much of your life into doing this. Like, what else are you going to do afterwards?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like outside of learning how to like dance, sing, write, do music, if they actually do like schooling.
Well, and it worked out for BTS and for a lot of other huge K-pop stars. But again, you create 100 plus K-pop groups a year. Not everybody's making it big.
No.
You know, and another thing to kind of illustrate the pressures that these K-pops go through also from the fans, there was this thing that I learned about called like the Black Ocean. So like one thing about again, I could be wrong, correct me. So it seems to me that in these concerts, right, they have these like glow sticks.
The glow orb.
But it's kind of like a ball, right?
Right.
And I guess you could change the color of it, and each band has a color, right? And so, if I'm not mistaken, when you have a concert and there's different bands that show up, different fans will show support for every band, so everybody changes the color to whatever band's up, and then they're like, yeah, cool, right? And so, you have these K-pop artists dancing to the Sea of Lights, right?
Right.
Well, there are times where I think that if certain K-pop artists anger their fans, then the fans, will tell fans of other bands, hey, we're going to teach our band a lesson. Turn off your glow stick, right?
Shit.
Yeah, so then the K-pop gang comes out, right? And they're like, oh, they're dancing and shit. And just fucking black. And it's kind of like their way of punishing a K-pop group, you know?
It's similar to like being booed here in America, right?
Yeah. And so the only reason we bring up the fans, now, I'm not saying that this is the relationship between ARMY and BTS, right?
Sure.
I'm not saying that these are things that happen to BTS. But what I am saying is that
there's a precedent for it.
Well, yeah, and so you have to think, like, if we were in a band, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would be always something that I would be thinking about. It's like, am I acting in a way, or am I doing things in a way that are not going to piss off these fans? Because I see how ARMY can come at fucking other people. What happens if that anger... Yeah, what happens if that anger turns this way? And I don't know if that's anything that they even worry about. But I just know that must be some type of pressure, you know?
Yeah, I think with another thing that I learned from like figuring out like everything that we found out about K-pop and BTS and things like that, like the pressures that they've gone under, like these K-pop artists have to be perfect. Like we're talking about like the factory that they train at and things like that. It's almost like a finishing school. Like they are learned how to groom, dress themselves, act a certain way for public. They're not. I don't think that these K-pop artists are allowed to be in like out relationships, like public relationships.
Yeah, be it any type of way, like straight, gay, or any type of relationship.
Like,
you can't almost show in like
and
any affection towards anybody.
You almost have to be like the perfect version of yourself.
Yeah,
like the marketable version.
Yeah,
and there was something, I refer to it as kind of like the Coyote Ugly theory, right? Like, there's a movie called Coyote Ugly, and this girl, she like becomes a bartender, but basically like the owner of the bar is like seem available but unattainable. I think that's a lot of what these K-pop artists have to like go through. Probably BTS has to go through in order to maintain like that certain level of perfection.
Yeah, for sure. Like, man, and not only that, but like, so like, there's been reports. Again, I didn't see anything on BTS. I looked it up.
It almost seems like they got a. And again, like it could be wrong, but it seems like they got away with like being themselves.
Yeah, and
more
maybe
than
that's
other artists.
Maybe that's what's made them successful. That it's like you hear all these bad things that other people have to go through. Maybe because they're at a bigger production and the stakes are higher.
Right.
And because of the smaller production, it kind of seems like these guys like were able to avoid some of like the really bad things that have happened, but. Like,
it's like indie artists versus label artists.
Yeah.
Like the indie artists have way more freedom to do what they want to do. They put out what they want to put out.
Yeah.
And like these like labels, like giant labels who have like people who are maybe like 1 to 2 hit wonders, like they are under thumb.
Yeah. Well, going back to some of the pressures, like the beauty standards. Now, in this one, I think, while I did hear that some male K-pop artists have gone through it, I think this is more of a female thing.
Okay.
But, like, being pressured into, like, plastic surgery, like, because they have a certain aesthetic that they're trying to hit. And, like, there was actually some things where, like, a certain band were kind of open to it, and they made it into, like, a song and a little reality thing of, like, saying it's, like, like, we're about to go under the knife and get changes, so we're going to, like, be open about it.
I thought I heard something about like that, like the beauty standard, and like someone, I think it was a female K-pop artist, like joked about it. I did it. Like
okay. And so when I looked it up for BTS to see like if any of them, there was one. I think J-Hope was. They were accusing them, but again, these are the pressures, right? Because it was like a. Fans from another band or from other bands, like haters, basically, right?
Yeah,
were basically saying that he had gone through this and all that stuff, right? And I saw some videos from the BTS fans that were like, nah, and they like pulled videos of him like when he was younger, and like you could kind of tell, that he had the same. It was like the nose. It was the same nose and everything.
Yeah, like, and I think a lot of people don't understand too. Like they've been around for so long. Like, of course. From 2010 to 2013 to 2021, they're gonna look a little different.
Yeah,
like they're aging.
Yeah,
like they're still like super young looking.
Yeah.
They're like they're older than I thought they were gonna be, which was surprising. Like I said, I believe like the oldest member was like born in '92, youngest was born in '97. Still puts them in their mid to late 20s, or some of them in their late 20s.
Yeah.
And like they still look like fucking teenagers or like 21-year-olds. Like good for them. And if that's all natural, like maybe their diet's right.
Yeah. Well, that's where the P in AMP theory comes from, right? The persistence.
Yeah.
These guys were fucking persistent as fuck. Mm-hmm. Like again, it's like their mindset. Man, it's so impressive. Like if you haven't looked into it, like it really is. Like I have such a huge respect for them now. Because of the mindset that has allowed them to be persistent, that has gotten them to where they are now. You
Yeah.
know, and like I mean, these guys didn't only just perform like in Korean, but they translated all their songs to Japanese.
Yeah, because they
Like before they got real big.
I think they were like maybe like one of the first K-pop bands to like do like a tour that was in Korea, Japan, and
I don't know
and
because
Singapore. I think
that I don't
Maybe?
know because there have been, while there haven't been
maybe the
bands
biggest,
as
maybe the
big-
biggest.
While there haven't been bands that have been as big as BTS,
Yeah.
Korea does have other big bands,
Right.
Like what was it, like EX something, and like
EXL.
nah,
or
like EX
EX
something, right?
yeah.
But they were big band. Like there's
Fact
one
check.
called Big Bang, and like a lot of girl groups, you know, that were big.
Yeah.
But now BTS is taken to another level.
Yeah.
But them breaking over to America is big.
Yeah.
And this is something also that kind of was like new to me because when I looked at some of their individual songs, like I was kind of into almost all of them, right?
There's
like,
definitely part
Are
like
you slowly becoming a BTS fan?
I fucking hey, you know what?
it sounds like it.
Maybe.
No. There's definitely so like even like with songs or
It's like you can't deny talent.
right.
Right? Like, and I
Yeah.
think it's like when you see them, like they are so talented
Yeah.
that like I would just be a hater if I was like, no, like this shit is good. Like
Yeah.
it's good, you know? Like I would just be hating on them. I would be just trying to not move from my rock, you know?
Yeah.
I'd just be like, no, and I must say they're fucking talented. And like some of the rap songs that they did, like what was it? It was that Sugar Guy and that J-Hope. I listened to a few of their songs and I was like, dude, like I would fucking listen to this shit.
Yeah.
You know? But the package and everything I was feeling, right?
Right.
And I think like I know that these production companies have them do things that they think is going to be what's going to hit in certain areas. And I just think that the product, like the way that they are presenting themselves in America, while of course, I mean, these two songs are the biggest songs,
What, Dynamite and Butter?
of the year.
Yeah.
You know? So
it
like
was
they're-
crazy too, man. Like every song or not every song, but like a lot of their songs, like they're in competition with themselves.
yeah,
They're
at this point.
Yeah, they're like beating themselves out for like where they rank on like the Billboard 100 and like
Yeah.
the or worldwide 200 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like talent is like there. It's
Yeah.
undeniable. And the fact that they can do songs in Korean, their native tongue, and then they can also do songs in Japanese for like that audience, and then come over here and like put out hits like speaking like English and stuff. That's like there's no denying like how talented they are.
Yeah, for sure.
And as I learned more, as I watched more, as I read more, and even what made me like, because you know how we're talking about like talent and everything, and like the songs are good. Watching the videos, there's a certain level of intensity that they like bring to like their choreography, it's like everything that they're doing, like their attitude and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it reminded, like I said, it reminded me a lot of like old hip hop. Like there was like a lot of attitude that was there, and I was like, I dig that.
Yeah. And one advice that I would give like somebody who's actually like, because like I'm a big fan of music, right?
Yeah.
Like I love history, I love music, and I love the history of music. So like I'll sit there, So I'll sit there and I really look into like what people were playing in certain areas, like what caused the British invasion, like what caused like, you know, Southern rock here in America, you know, like what caused these things, like where did it come from, all this stuff, right? And the thing that like I would encourage you, if you're gonna like look into like BTS, like musically, these guys definitely, like, again, talented, can't say enough about that. But if you really want to appreciate them as a band, like I will say you kind of have to look into their solo projects, because like when I got the bundle, like BTS the bundle, right, it's like there's 7 characters, man, and every single one is in the song. So it's like you have 7 characters and you're like listening, and like they do a good job of like making the song sound like them, like BTS the band.
And everybody has like
but
their
you get a
moment.
little taste of all of them, where you're just like, you can miss certain things. But when you look at an individual project, I mean, I looked at least like one or 2 songs of each individual artist. You're like, oh, no. This motherfucker has talent. Like he just hit a whole song by himself. Like this guy is good. And then after I did that, and I went back and listened to BTS as the band, I'm like,
you can kind of pick out each individual's voice, because that was something that I told you earlier. Like I was listening to RM rap, and I was like, It's because like the American songs are admittedly a little bit more bubblegum than like their like straight Korean music, right?
Yeah.
Like their music in their like native tongue is like a lot more like in depth.
Yeah.
And then over here, like it's a banger, it's a hit, like it sounds great. But there were things that like I had missed because they were more vocal driven. Yeah. So I didn't really get to experience like how much swagger he had with his like rapping.
And that's
that,
one
like, that took me by surprise. I was like, oh shit.
And that's actually something that I'm interested to see how it's gonna play out. Is this little fact right here? Is that when I hear some of the stuff they do in Korean, right? Like the raps sound dope. Like the beats sound cool. Yeah. I don't know what they're saying sometimes, but it sounds dope, right? Right. Now here's the thing is that like I wouldn't mind listening to that, right? Yeah. But here in America, like when it comes to these, because the songs that came out, like you said, are kind of bubblegum, right? Like they're pop, right? Yeah. But a lot of the stuff that I was really liking was their kind of slower R&B sounding stuff. It definitely had like an old like late 90s like R&B feel to it. And I really liked like the music that they did more with like trap beats type style, right? Right. But here's the thing, here in America, like our rap is very well established. Like it's and we like our rap a certain type of way with a certain type of danger in it. I think they're a little for what they do, it's great, and there is clearly there's a market for it. Yeah. But like rap here is like clearly it's so what it's not all bang bang shoot 'em up, but most of it. How you talking about danger? Yeah, money, danger, women. Yeah, and BTS is like a lot more squeaky clean and a lot more more positive, maybe more positive, more wholesome. Yeah, which is funny because I always said it's like when I heard them like that they were rappers in Korean, I was like, well, what are they really talking about? Like I don't know much about Korea. Yeah. But a lot of thing about America, especially like the rap is like the voice of the ghettos, right? Right. I don't know how many ghettos there are in Korea, or whatever, right? But I don't know even if they're rapping, if that's where they're coming from, if it's the same danger, but that's some of the reason why American hip hop has so much appeal is because it's like outlaw music, it's like that. So I was like, man, what are they really talking about, right? And like their music is really positive. It's really like introspective. Like think about it, right? But I'm thinking like, how would they do that in English, right? So I'm just interested in saying, do they try to do that in English, or do they get big in America and then like drop a Korean song that fucking hits in America, bro? I mean, that would be crazy. Yeah, because even like I think if I remember right, even like in like Dynamite, right? There's rap, but the rap is in Korean. Like the hook, like the melody, everything else is in English, but I think the rapping is in Korean. It might be that part might actually be too hard to translate. It could be. Well, I don't know. Either way, like the song is a banger, like I said. Yeah. But so maybe that portion is too hard to translate. I will admit, after watching Butter a couple times, like because like while they do a good job of speaking English, like they still have a bit of an accent. So without the subtitles, sometimes it's hard for me to understand. Like I make out the words. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to make out the phrases. Yeah. And so like I think as they get better at speaking English, like it's only gonna get like better. But it's crazy. Like again, look into these guys. I mean, they've battled everything from like plagiarism claims, which were kind of unfounded because it's like when you have so many ideas of K-pop artists, like it was just that the idea of their outfits was kind of similar to an idea of another one, but it was just kind of like a popular thing that certain K-pops would do, Yeah. But like constantly being badgered on like plagiarism. Like I think some raps that RM guy did, some fans came out and said, "Oh, this is misogynistic," and it's like, like they had all these attacks coming at them. Like that RM dude, man. He keeps getting death threats. Like I know that some other ones have too, but it seemed to me like that dude was like consistently getting death threats, which is weird, because I didn't see anything that they did where I was like, that dude deserves to die, like so it's crazy. And that could just be like, and I think that's the thing about like those K-pop fans. It's like you're gonna have to dial it down a bit because it's like you can't be so for your band that you just put in a death threat. It kind of seemed like they just put it in so that those fans couldn't see their band, which is like fucking hater mode, you
I
know?
don't know.
Yeah, but anyways, that's just speculation.
Yeah, but overall, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that I've become a fan, but I've definitely, my respect level has gone up like 100-fold.
Yeah,
Like,
I
have a lot more. I have
Yeah.
a lot more respect. Their music is good. Everything that I've heard, like, I have liked. They do bring like a certain level of intensity to their music, to their dance, to everything that they like
Yeah.
have put together,
Yeah.
and like as like a group, like I respect the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Like I could listen to it, you know, and I could enjoy it. And how we're talking about like the history of music
Yeah.
and the history of like K-pop and all that, like they're fucking killing it. Like,
yeah. I would say that I respect them immensely.
Yes.
I have a different perspective of at 1st. I feel for them, you know, in the situation that
Absolutely,
they're
yeah.
in, because I feel like and now I understand
to
why
be that,
maybe
like,
their
to be
fans.
that popular and that famous. And
Yeah.
to be like in the spotlight
Yeah.
that much, like
Yeah.
it takes like a certain kind of like person with
Yeah.
like certain mental,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
faculties.
Yeah, so I feel for them, you know, as individuals, because it seems like they're in this bubble, and I kind of understand more why their fans are so protective, is because it does seem like you have like something kind of I don't know, pure maybe might seem like a word, like, because it's like it
Yeah.
seems like they dodged all these things, these
Yeah.
negative things from K-pop, and now like they're in the world
The world's view,
arena,
yeah.
you know, and you have K-pop transforming into something that's going to be a little bit more worldwide, where there's less like people like where there's more people like us who don't really understand it at first glance,
but are willing to give it a chance.
yeah, because we're
Yeah.
fucking amazing human beings, bro.
We are.
I'm proud of you, bro.
BTS, we like you.
Yeah. So, you know, look into it. You know, they really are a great band. I would say that I am a fan. I don't listen to much music anymore, but you know, when they drop a song, we will be reacting to it. You know,
Yeah.
right? But yeah,
I think I'm sure we got a lot wrong. I'm absolutely positive we got a
Yeah.
lot wrong, but that's what the comment section is there for.
yeah.
If
yeah.
you want to have a constructive conversation with us, like, we're more than happy to talk to
Yeah.
anyone and everyone.
Yeah. And we know that we missed out a lot of information.
Yeah.
We try to give context on K-pop, BTS, and like the fandom and stuff like that in a matter of like an hour or something. So
What's
we
our run time?
405.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a little over an hour. So
Yeah.
definitely doesn't have enough justice, but at least we hope that we sparked enough interest for people that aren't into it to kind of look into it. Because for
Absolutely.
real, man, like I would tell you if this shit was bullshit. Like I would tell you 100%. You know what? Don't waste your time. It's all garbage. But it really isn't. Like when you have a whole country
Yeah.
and people competing, like the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
You know, and I will say that these guys are really good. And,
Absolutely.
You know, so good luck to them.
Absolutely.
And you know, thanks for checking
Thank
us
you.
out. You could follow
Thank you,
us
Camilla.
on- Oh, Camilla, yeah. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Badass.
much. The information that you provided to us, invaluable.
Yeah, appreciate it for doing a lot of the hard work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just absorbed it after that.
Yeah. And sorry if we didn't do it the best that
Yeah.
we could, but hey, we did the best we could. Sorry
Yeah.
if we didn't do like.
But
up
again,
to some
like with our book reviews, our goal is to do it so bad that you just go out and look for everything yourself.
Yeah, and if you left with more questions than what you came with, go look that shit up yourself.
Absolutely. But anyways, find us on
follow us on TikTok, Instagram,
Facebook,
YouTube,
Spotify.
Apple Podcasts,
We really have to get better at that.
fucking everywhere. We're probably everywhere.
Everything that you see social media, just type in at the end.
We are currently seeking representation. If you like what you saw, we're here.
Yeah. And if you want to
Thank you.
sponsor us, let us know. We got big Red Bulls.
We got shirts coming out too again.
BDV.
Hey, fuck you.